Yeah, thank you. And it looks like from the poll results that these results mirror a little bit of what you're saying, and we can sort of break this down into, I guess it looks like three major categories, competing priorities in the implementation phase, awaiting accounting interpretations from a technical guidance perspective, and even the system changes. So if we break those down, John, can you share with us, what you think might be causing these problems related to the implementation process specifically?
Sure. Yes. I think I'm certainly not surprised by the competing priorities and awaiting interpretations, making up, if you add those two together, they're the majority of the concerns and issues. Anybody that is in the accounting department of a company, or the CFO, the controller, the president, if it's a smaller company and they're involved with the high-level accounting, their as somebody else said earlier on the call, their day-to-day tasks and other responsibilities don't go away and create time to adopt this complex new accounting standard. And so trying to find the time to even get started. And then the question is, well, how do we start and where do we start? Because there's this standard, there's a ton of interpretations out there now. You can go search on the internet. So, how do we get moving on this? How do we get from the starting point to really getting into detail? That's where things can really stall out, because you kind of get started and then, okay, well, where do we go? And that's where we've seen companies need to go out and get some help from outside just to get a little bit of bandwidth to get over the hump. And even once companies are getting started, what I've frequently seen is, okay, well, let's look at our different types of revenue. You can call them revenue streams. And then for each one of those types, we're going to go through the new standard's got a 5-step process. And within each step, there's some key pieces. That's where it can get really tricky, because interpreting, okay, well, I think this piece doesn't apply to me, but I'm not 100% sure. That's where the technical side of it can get really challenging. And then also, company may say, okay, well, we need help from our auditors. We're required to get an audit. We're going to need to call our auditors and get their suggestions. And what I'm seeing in cases where I'm not the auditor on the advisory side, the audit firms have to be careful there, because you can't cross a line of no longer being independent. You can't just do the assessment for a company. So there can certainly be discussions and help provided, but they can't get you all the way there. And then the other piece I'm seeing is for companies that have made a lot of progress, particularly ones where there's going to be a change. If they have a particular type of contract where historically, let's say they've recognized that when they finish whatever it is, service or good that they're building, they recognize all the revenue at the end. And under the new standard, they should be recognizing that over time as they do the work. Well, it seems like the hard part would be, I just need to know if I'm going to do this modified retrospective, so if I'm a private company, I'm going to figure out, as of January 1st, 2019, what's my cumulative catch-up? What's my impact of the new standard going to be? Then I'll be at the finish line and I'm done and I can celebrate. But then you step back and you go, oh, well, geez, now I have to figure out after that date, I've got all these existing contracts, all this existing revenue. Now I'm going to have to live this day to day. I have to apply the new standard to everything going forward. And it's not the way that I've been doing it in the past. So how do I get my arms around dealing with post-implementation or post-effective date? And that's catching some companies by surprise, because you're so focused on the initial adoption, but then you realize that after that, it can be very challenging.